appreciate you humming happy birthday. Peter Elzinga and I both appreciate it today. And both of us are glad we've survived long enough to be able to have you sing it for us. Let us pray. The prayer for Parliament at Westminster is used in 1659. I'm not that old. We, thine unworthy servants, here gathered together in thy name, do humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our considerations. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions.
Thank you. Member for Lesser Slave Lake.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the people of Trout Lake and Peerless Lake, I'd like to present a petition regarding the withdrawal of services from these communities, of doctors applying to the communities, and hopefully that we can resolve this issue as quickly as possible. Oh, I could sing.
Reading and receiving petitions.
Member for West Loch Sturgeon.
Speaker, I would leave to submit a petition from 150 teachers in 7 schools in my constituency in the towns of Gibbons, Morinville, and Bonaccord, asking that the government urges the Legislative Assembly to accord favorable consideration to a resolution on pensions. Thank you.
Lesser Slave Lake. Second. Thank you.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Tourism, Recreation and Parks.
Speaker, I'm presenting to the Legislative Assembly today 4 copies of the financial statements of the Alberta Sports Council for the year ended March 31st, 1991.
Thank you. The Attorney General. Oh, sorry.
I'd like to table the annual report of the Law Society of Alberta, 1991.
Deputy Premier, followed by the Minister of Public.
I'd like to table the 17th annual report of the Department of Federal and Intergovernmental Affairs.
Thank you. Public Works Supply and Services.
I'd like to table with the Assembly today 3 reports. The first is the annual report for 1991-92 of the Association of Professional Engineers, Geologists, and Geophysicists of Alberta. Second is the 28th annual report of the Alberta Racing Commission to March 31, 1991. And the third is the 7th annual report of the Wild Rose Foundation to March 31, 1991.
Thank you. Solicitor General, followed by Minister of the Environment.
I'd like to table 4 copies of the report of the Midwifery Services Review Committee.
Minister of the Environment.
I would like to table the report of the Bow River Water Quality Task Force.
Introduction of special guests.
Barhead, Minister of Public Works Supply and Services.
Speaker, and both the members in the public gallery today are 100 young people from Barhead Elementary School. They're led by 3 teachers, Mr. Lauren Lamotte, Mr. Mike Loitz, and Mr. Mark Potvin, and they're accompanied by 4 parent helpers, Mrs. Carol Roberts, Mrs. Karen McCauley, Mrs. Susan McElroy, and Mrs. Donna Miller. Mr. Speaker, I'd ask our young guests to rise in both galleries and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Avonmore, followed by Calgary Glenmore.
Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to members of this Assembly 13 students from Millwoods Christian School, which is located in beautiful Edmonton Avonmore. They are accompanied by a teacher, P.J. Reimer. They are seated in the public gallery, and I would ask that they now rise and receive the warm welcome of this assembly.
Member for Edmonton Centre.
To welcome 24 students from St. Joseph's High School in Edmonton Centre. They're here today with their teacher, Ms. Bassarab, and I'm not sure what gallery they're in, but if they'd please like to stand and be welcomed by the members here today.
Calgary Glenmore.
Speaker, I'd like to introduce to you and through you to members of the Legislative Assembly Mrs. Margaret Mrazek, the chair of the Midwifery Service Review Committee. Mrs. Mrazek is a nurse who turned lawyer and has done a wonderful job, and have to congratulate her on this report and her committee and the hard work and the excellent report they have produced. I believe Mrs. Mrazek is sitting in the members gallery. Would you please give her a warm welcome?
Ministerial statements.
Of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife.
Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to rise today and formally acknowledge this week, April 5th to 11th, as National Wildlife Week. The theme this year is Keep Canada Evergreen for Wildlife, which emphasizes the importance of wildlife, their habitat, and the conscientious management of our wildlands, rivers, forests, and streams. National Wildlife Week was first established by the Canadian Parliament in 1947 to pay tribute to a true conservation pioneer and a champion of wildlife in Canada, Jack Miner. Among many other contributions he made, Mr. Miner established one of the first wildlife sanctuaries in 1909. He was born on April 10, 1865, and in his honor, National Wildlife Week annually occurs on the week that includes his birthday. Our province is blessed with some 442 animal species and more than 2,000 plant species. And from our Badlands to the Rocky Mountains, we have more ecoregion diversity than any other province. As part of National Wildlife Week, the Canadian Wildlife Federation has developed an information kit, and my department obtained 2,500 copies for distribution in Alberta. The kits will be given to Project Wild leaders and other conservation education volunteers. Classrooms and other youth groups can, through the Habitat 2000 program, apply for a grant to be used for any wildlife habitat project. I can think of no greater contribution than to involve our young people in their environment, and to that end, Forestry, Lands and Wildlife staff have been encouraged to visit at least one school class during the week, make presentations, and talk to students. To date, 45 Alberta communities have officially proclaimed National Wildlife Week, planning festivals and special events in this celebration. I hope each one of us will set aside some time to become actively involved and celebrate this magnificent natural resource, our wildlife heritage.
Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, certainly we in the official opposition welcome the statement by the Minister during National Wildlife Week, April 5th, 11th. We too would also like to pay tribute to Mr. Miner. The contributions he made and many others are very important. I noticed, Mr. Speaker, that the Minister says we are blessed with some 442 animal species and more than 2,000 plant species. Now, Mr. Speaker, the only point I would make is that 20 years from now, I hope that we can say the same thing, because I think there's a feeling, Mr. Speaker, that when this law of government policies, I think could be questioned in terms of the future, whether there'll be that many there. I think there's a feeling that whereas development versus environment with this government, the environment is always going to come out second fiddle, Mr. Speaker. So while I certainly agree with the Minister's statements and things he says in it, I would hope that our policies in the future, at least, would be somewhat more balanced, especially dealing with the northern forests, Mr. Speaker. It would be interesting to see what a statement might be made, 20 years from now, when I'm sure the Minister and I won't be here if the same sort of statement's being made, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism.
Speaker, today I rise on behalf of the Government of Alberta, and I expect members of the Legislative Assembly to speak in honor of a special day for Canadians of Scottish descent. Today is April 6th. It is a date that has been chosen to recognize and appreciate ancestors who came to Canada to establish a new life here and to embrace this country as their own. Mr. Speaker, the Federation of Scottish Clans in Nova Scotia chose this day as their day of celebration, and in 1987, this date was declared Tartan Day by the legislature in that province. This day is also recognized by other provinces, and Mr. Speaker, we're doing that here in Alberta as well. Canadians of Scottish descent have made tremendous contributions to this province and to this country. Early settlers worked hard in the fledgling railroading and shipbuilding industries. Scottish Canadians were represented in Canada's military ranks in 2 world wars. Mr. Speaker, there are many people who are of Scottish descent who were involved in the wars in this Assembly, including the Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism, who traces his ancestors back to Inverness. I'm delighted to see that Canadians of Scottish descent are celebrating and sharing their heritage with Albertans. On this date, April 6th, Mr. Speaker, the Federation of Scottish Clans encouraged the wearing of the tartan as a reminder of what can be accomplished by hard work and loyalty.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker,
Give it to him.
I finally found something that the Minister of Multiculture and I agree on, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure our Scotch ancestors are turning over in their graves right now. But, Mr. Speaker, I trace my ancestors back to the Isle of Lewis, which is a long ways away.
Great island.
But, Mr. Speaker, I might point out, too, if I may say so, the Scottish Canadians were well represented in Canada's military ranks in 2 world wars. I have a grandfather, of course, is since deceased, but was in the Boer War, and I happen to have the medals from his participation in that war. But, Mr. Speaker, I know it's Tartan Day, and I have seen in the past, Mr. Speaker, the member from Westlock Sturgeon in kilts, and I refuse to do that. I refuse to go that far. I got to look like that, Mr. Speaker.
Agreed.
But certainly we think it's a joyful day for all people of Scottish ancestors.
Here, 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 here.
Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition in business.
Yeah, right. Mr. Speaker, this weekend it was revealed that the Alberta government could be planning to dump Novotel for the sum of $30 million, Mr. Speaker. This would be on a sale to one of their competitors, Northern Telecom Limited. Now, this would be quite a deal, Mr. Speaker. Buy for $185 million and sell for $30 million,
Brilliant.
Mr. Speaker. Tory economics. They're the ones that really understand business, Mr. Speaker. But I would say no wonder that this province has a deficit out of control as it is, Mr. Speaker, with the Treasurer and a government that could make deals like this. But my question to the Treasurer is simply this, Mr. Speaker. Will the Treasurer update us and tell us if it is true that Novotel could be sold for as low as $30 million?
Of Technology Research and Telecommunications. Mr. Speaker, we're never surprised to see this type of speculation occurring from the members opposite, and we know where they do their research. But as the Minister is away at some important meetings in Ottawa right now, Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to take this as notice.
Mr. Speaker, this isn't even cute. The Treasurer knows what's going on. That Minister doesn't even know what's going on in his own department, Mr. Speaker. The Treasurer's on a committee, Mr. Speaker. He's on a 3-member committee here. And for rather than him to evade the issues, Mr. Speaker, I would like him to stand up and tell us what's going on, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask the Treasurer, if the government, I have to take it by that answer, by him not standing up, that they are considering it, but I want to ask him then, if the government is considering selling the Novotel assets, Mr. Speaker, will they be also selling Novatel's debts? Don't ask him to stand up, Mr. Speaker. This is crazy.
That's right. Answer.
Mr. Speaker, nobody's asking him to stand up either, but I'd be happy to take that question as notice.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can only take by the fact that the treasurer won't stand up and pass it on over to the Minister of Social Services that this, in fact, must be true, Mr. Speaker. That's what we have to
right.
assess. And I want to ask the treasurer again, Mr. Speaker. He is the treasurer. Maybe he could answer this. How much is this fiasco going to eventually cost taxpayers? Is it $155 million, $360, $525 million? Give us a number, Mr. Speaker.
Idea. Come on.
Mr. Speaker, it is tradition of all assemblies to have acting ministers respond to questions of this order. That's exactly what we've done here, Mr. Speaker. I should say that the Leader of the Official Opposition is responding only to speculation, and as the Minister has just indicated, when the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications is back here, he'll be glad to handle those questions.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
You're on the committee. I guess I gave you too much credit for knowing what's going on.
Non-government.
But, Mr. Speaker, let's go from secrecy in Novotel and evasion to exaggeration with the Heritage Trust Fund, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the University of Alberta published a report on Friday which shows that the Heritage Fund is overvalued by $2.5 billion. Mr. Speaker, almost everyone except the Treasurer acknowledges that the fund is not worth the $12.1 billion that this government talks about. Mr. Speaker, it's the same old exaggeration, just like their budgets, where he's wrong every year, one year after another. Overestimate the revenues, overestimate the trust fund, and not tell the truth to Albertans. That's what it comes down to, Mr. Speaker. So my question then to the Treasurer, I take it that the trust fund he still might know something about, Mr. Speaker, might answer the question. Will he start telling the truth to Albertans and confirm to this Assembly that the trust fund is overvalued by at least $2 billion, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, I can be glad to deal with that issue, which calls into some debate the financial disclosure of the Heritage Savings Trust Fund. And I can say, Mr. Speaker, that as recently as early last month, we published the quarterly investment report of the Heritage Savings Trust Fund, a document which updates Albertans, provides full information as to what's happened with the fund over the course of the year, and that document is available to any interested Albertan who would like to read it. But in that report, Mr. Speaker, I want to make it very clear that the financial assets of the Heritage Fund are over $12 billion, Mr. Speaker, liquid assets that work for the people of Alberta and diversifying this economy, providing an income transfer to the General Revenue Fund, which has totaled over $14 billion since the inception of this fund. Together with that $12 billion, Mr. Speaker, is over $3 billion in deemed assets, which we report providing more than $15 billion of work for the people of Alberta. Now, to call into questions the assumption, Mr. Speaker, you can make the world turn upside down if you assume you're standing on your head. And that's essentially what this academic has done. He's assumed away all of the strengths of the Heritage Savings Trust Fund, and upon those assumptions, which he deemed to be, in his own view, reasonable, he has adjusted valuations. Quite clearly, he's not at all accurate. It's the same old story we saw before, and I can report to the people of Alberta that the assets of the fund, some $12 billion in financial assets, are in place and are working for them.
Well, I just like the budget. He was right on again, Mr. Speaker. Everybody else is wrong, but the Treasurer, Mr. Speaker. How can he possibly say this, Mr. Speaker? The money we spent in Alberta Mortgage and Housing, the Agricultural Development Corporation, AOC, investment venture loans, that's the money we spent. They're not the market value, and the Treasurer knows full well, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask the Treasurer again, how can he stubbornly insist that this fund is worth $12 billion when these examples anybody can see show how vastly overrated it is, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, let me say that I've said before in this Assembly, both in the very vast and detailed debates that we've had on the Heritage Fund estimates over the course of the past many years, that in fact the assets of this fund are strong, and in fact they're worth more than the $12 billion that's reported here, Mr. Speaker. As a matter of interest, one of these crown corporations, which always draws this sort of curious debate, we privatized some of our debentures of two entities over the past year. People well remember the sale of TELUS Corporation. TELUS Corporation were debentures of Alberta government telephones which were recorded here at cost. We sold those, Mr. Speaker, for a profit to the Heritage Fund and to the people of Alberta of close to $400 million, Mr. Speaker, $400 million. Secondly, during the course of this past year, Mr. Speaker, we have securitized or sold into the marketplace certain debentures we held of Alberta Municipal Finance Corporation. We picked up some profits close to $200 million in that transaction, Mr. Speaker. So you can see that there are assets in here, these Crown corporations in particular, which are at least equal to the cost value, that is the $12 billion that's reported, and in fact, in all instances, have value way above that, Mr. Speaker. So any words to the contrary are simply misleading, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if it wasn't so sad, it would be funny. But Mr. Speaker, sure, you sold TELUS. Yeah, sold all the profit making. We've got Novotel, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
Brilliant,
Had to
Mr.
buy it
Speaker.
back.
But the reason, Mr. Speaker, and my question to the Treasurer is simply this. They want to overinflate the value of the trust fund for political reasons. They don't want Albertans to know how they squandered it, Mr. Speaker. And if he's so sure, my question to the Treasurer, if he's so sure about his figures, then, Mr. Speaker, will the Treasurer now agree to establish an independent public review of the Heritage Fund so that once and for all, Albertans know the real value of this fund, Mr. Speaker?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think that's an insult to the members of the Heritage Fund Committee, who are members of the Legislative Assembly, who are on a special independent committee, who go through on an annual basis all the transactions chaired by the member from Cardston, Mr. Speaker, and with members representing both official opposition parties. And in that review, Mr. Speaker, every inch, every dollar spent by the Heritage Fund comes under close scrutiny by that independent committee, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, when the budget comes down, I, as a matter of course, provide estimates of the Capital Projects Division spending. Those estimates, Mr. Speaker, by way of time allocation of this Assembly, receive at least 10 days of legislative review as they pass through the process of this Assembly, Mr. Speaker. And on top of it, thirdly, on top of it, Mr. Speaker, the auditor, provincial auditor, Auditor General of Alberta, appointed by this Assembly, independent from the government, reviews these statements every year, appointed by this legislative committee, Mr. Kingsway, independent of the government. They review this every year, Mr. Speaker, and that report is tabled in this Assembly as well.
Edmonton Glengarry on behalf of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, the Treasurer in Hansard has referred to MagCan as the taxpayer's investment. The Minister of Economic Development in Hansard has referred to Northern Steel as our investment. And that same minister, when he talked about Carbovan, talked about the fact that there was no risk to the Alberta taxpayer. Our party calculates that, in fact, there is $1.7 billion of risk to Albertans on loan guarantees. My first question is to the Minister of Tourism. Mr. Speaker, if this loan guarantee to the riverboat enterprise is such a good business investment, will the Minister agree to table documentation that relates to the loan guarantee in this Assembly as soon as possible?
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk about the benefits of this North Saskatchewan Riverboat project. It's a major tourism asset for the city of Edmonton and all of northern Alberta, and definitely in our department we feel we can market this not only locally but provincially and internationally. And as I said in the House, we look at this as being an investment and not a risk, and that the three levels of government in the first 5 years of operation, including construction, could look at $5.6 million worth of tax revenues from it. Mr. Speaker, the guarantee is a normal guarantee that was handled by Treasury and with due diligence backing up the bank. I'm sure that we will have a first charge on the assets, and there should be no problem in our viewpoint.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if the minister doesn't hear or doesn't want to hear. The question is, if this is such a good business investment, commit to filing the documents, Minister. Are you going to agree to commit to file the documents? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, transactions with the private sector have got numerous times questions like this have been responded to. The commercial confidentiality of transactions are there, and very definitely we do not look at this as being anything but a good investment.
Mr. Speaker, we can see what freedom of information is going to look like for Albertans down the line. It's a hollow promise. Our last question is to the Minister of Economic Development. The Minister has been receiving representation from business people in Alberta saying don't get government involved in the marketplace. Is the Minister prepared to commit today to say that there will be no more skewing of that marketplace and loan guarantees will not occur any longer?
Mr. Speaker, consistent with what we've said on a continuous basis, we feel as a government, in the event that the economy is on a downward slant, we've got an obligation to provide jobs for Albertans. The economy has been strong in this province. It's been strong because of the economic policies advocated on behalf of this government. I should indicate to the honourable member, as we have said in the past, we have pulled back drastically, recognizing that there was strength in the Alberta economy. But that's not to say that's going to preclude our involvement. We want to make sure that we have a competitive climate within the province of Alberta. That is the message that we are receiving on a consistent basis from those who are making presentations to us on the Towards 2000 Together. We look forward to the tabulation of all those inputs, and at the appropriate time we'll come forward with a comprehensive policy that will lead us onto greater strength within the province of Alberta.
Length followed by Edmonton Calder.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Agriculture, and in that the strike at Alberta Wheat Pool terminals at Vancouver is still ongoing at a considerable cost to the Alberta farmer, and in the fact that Alberta farmers own the Alberta Wheat Pool, and as it is not considered illegal or unethical for owners or management to replace striking workers during contract negotiations, has the minister considered choosing some qualified Alberta farm people to replace these striking workers until a contract can be negotiated?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is certainly correct in referring to the problems at the Vancouver port as having serious implications for the farmers in Alberta and Western Canada. His idea for a solution is something he may wish to consider discussing with the wheat pool delegates in his area, because the province does not own the company, the farmers own the company. There are, however, options that the Alberta Wheat Pool could look at that may be less confrontational. One is shipping through the Seattle port, as some grain companies and the Wheat Board did at the time of the last strike. Certainly it's certainly an option that is being advocated by some of the grain producer organizations. I might also say, Mr. Speaker, if we made some of the right changes in the way we regulate the grain industry and the way we pay for transportation, incidents like this would be a lot easier to deal with. If the farmer was paying the full transportation costs, he would then decide how it was going to be transported, where it was going to go. If we were dealing with a North American domestic marketplace, that would certainly appease this or go some way to dealing with this.
There's supplementary, please, Bow Valley.
Mr. Speaker, in that the Alberta grain farmer has been strapped for cash income over the last year or so, and this strike is just adding to his problems, has it been considered that the striking dock workers could be considered essential services and therefore legislated back to work?
That's a matter that was given some discussion at the time of the last strike, and that we made recommendations to the federal government to consider declaring all workers involved in transporting and handling grain as essential workers. Up to this point in time, the federal government has not chosen to act.
Edmonton Calder, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
Mr. Speaker, the Edmonton Region of Family and Social Services will be requiring people on social assistance to fill out reporting cards and send them back in order to guarantee receiving their benefit check. This will be a serious problem for people who cannot read or who are disabled and who will not be able to fill out these forms. To the Minister, given that clients currently have great difficulty reaching their social workers for assistance, will the Minister agree not to delay the checks or cancel checks as stated on the cards for failure to return them until a social worker can meet with the client to discuss the matter?
Good idea.
Mr. Speaker, again, the member for Edmonton Calder comes to conclusions that aren't appropriate. I can tell the member that this isn't a concept that's suddenly being introduced. It's a concept that we've piloted for the last year plus, Mr. Speaker, in other offices. We realized that that was a concern in some areas, and we're satisfied, Mr. Speaker, that there are the supports necessary available to individuals that find themselves in those situations. So it isn't providing an undue hardship, Mr. Speaker. The concept is working very well.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister should know that it's very difficult to contact social workers if you need to. The Minister should know that. And right on the card it says that benefits will be cancelled or checks will be delayed if these cards are not filled out. And I'd like to ask the Minister what specific action is he taking to guarantee that people will receive their checks if these cards are not filled out.
Mr. Speaker, the changes are very consistent with some of the reforms that we've brought forward in our social programs here in Alberta, in particular the supports for independence. And one of the messages that we've carried forward in a very forthright way is that there is an onus of responsibility on individuals that are going to be on this program. And part of that responsibility, Mr. Speakers, means that it's important for them to keep us informed as to their current circumstances. It's very important, Mr. Speaker. It's consistent with the recommendation of the Auditor General, and normally, Mr. Speaker, the members opposite are anxious for us to be able to respond to the recommendations of the Auditor General. This is one of the recommendations that he's brought forward. We have responded, and Mr. Speaker, not only is it helping us in terms of keeping our files current, but it's also helping individuals in making sure that they're getting all the benefits they're entitled to as well.
Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the one hand, the Treasurer of this province holds billions of dollars of debt on which we have to pay interest. And on the other hand, he holds assets in the Heritage Savings Trust Fund which earn, at best, questionable earnings. My question is to the Treasurer. Why will the Treasurer not stop this charade and sell the Heritage Savings Trust Fund, or what's left of it, to pay down his spiraling debt?
Mr. Speaker, a series of assumptions there which obviously are built on the same false premises that all the Liberal Party's policies are built upon, and that is that they don't really understand what's going on when it comes to the way in which a fiscal plan has to be put together. No doubt, Mr. Speaker, that the Heritage Fund has been one of the important aspects of the fiscal and economic strength of this province, allowing the province of Alberta, since the inception of this fund, to do very unique things to further the benefits, economic benefits of our great province, provide special services to Albertans which are unique in Canada, and to continue the diversification of this province in a way in which we can have strong economic growth taking place as it now is in Alberta when a recession is founded in all other socialist provinces such as Ontario. In which case, Mr. Speaker, that is why we have the Heritage Fund, Mr. Speaker, to build on the strengths, to diversify the economy, and to provide special, unique quality of life advantages to the people of Alberta.
Wake up, Dick. Nobody believes that rhetoric anymore. Why?
Order, please, honourable member. Thank you for the opportunity. In the last week or so, we've been having too many people being called by their first names in the chamber, and that's not parliamentary. It will cease as of now. Your supplementary, please.
Wake up, Mr. Johnson. Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
Please. Honourable member, I think under the circumstances you've lost your supplementary. Lesser Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. In January, the Athabasca Health Unit pulled out drugs from the northern communities of Trout and Peerless Lake. In March, Medical Services Branch from the federal government unilaterally pulled out services by doctors flying into the community to treat these people, thus compounding the problem. These communities are extremely upset, and rightfully so, because they are a good 4 hours away from the nearest medical facility. Will the Minister of Health work as quickly as possible with the federal government to restore services by fly-in doctors to Peerless and Trout Lake so that the people have access to medical care?
Same question.
The short answer to the question, Mr. Speaker, is yes. My officials will be meeting with the National Health and Welfare, who have agreed to meet with us early next week to review these matters, some of which are described by the Honourable Member for Slave Lake.
Thank you. While this issue of doctor services are being under discussion, hopefully towards a resolution as quickly as possible, will the Minister give some assurance to my northern constituents that the Alberta Health will work with the Athabasca Health Unit to restore the dispensation of medical prescriptions for these northern communities?
Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to put on the table what this issue is about. What we had in the past was public health nurses in the position of prescribing and dispensing pharmaceuticals, which is not an allowable scope of practice for a public health nurse. That is the reason why the health unit felt, in terms of liability, that they could no longer do that. The interim plan was for the physicians who were traveling in to take the prescriptions, have them filled in Slave Lake, and have another physician take them in. That is part of the issue that we're working through, and I have asked my staff to look at contingency plans that we might look at to ensure access to health services by these northern Albertans.
Silence.
Mr. Speaker, the Seniors Advisory Council for Alberta made public its report today following public meetings that it held during 1991. And amongst the recommendations or observations, Mr. Speaker, I think the ones related to health are the most significant. It says, seniors expressed concern about the increasing costs of both eyeglasses and dental care and the amount that they must now pay in addition to what the program pays. Several said that the reduction in the amount of the program covers for dental care is a source of worry. My question is to the minister responsible for seniors. If this government has truly grown new ears, will it listen now to the recommendations of this report and reverse the cuts that it unilaterally imposed upon seniors last year?
Right. Ancient history.
Mr. Speaker, this government does listen to the concerns of seniors and always has. I'd like to point out to the member that going across the 5 neighboring provinces, that we're the only province at all that has programs at all of any kind in those areas she's referred to.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in the first place, the government made the cuts without consulting the seniors, and I just heard the treasurer say that we must be the richest province in the universe. So I think, Mr. Speaker, the point is those seniors weren't consulted, and they don't like the cuts to the programs that they worked hard to pay for. Is the government not prepared to restore those programs to the pre-1991 cut levels?
Mr. Speaker, the comments she's made about the lack of consultation have been acknowledged, and we have done everything possible to rectify that. As a matter of fact, the report that she refers to was designed specifically to make sure that the communication between seniors organizations and this government is ongoing. The information flows both ways. The report is excellent. There's nothing new about it. Last year's annual report contains something like 16 recommendations to this government by the Advisory Council. That's their business. They are in the business of carrying the message both to the government and to the seniors. They're doing it very well. I think it's an excellent report, and we look forward to reviewing it.
Edmonton Avonmore, followed by Edmonton Whitemud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, research consistently shows that a significant majority of juvenile prostitutes are survivors of child sexual abuse. and that prostitution is either a means of escape from violent environments or a way of working through the trauma of the abuse. The minister says that he is concerned about these children, yet his department has restricted and eliminated funding for support and treatment of child victims. My question to the minister, will he now commit to treatment for these children by reinstating funding and broadening the department's mandate to include children who do not have status with the department?
Mr. Speaker, no, we haven't restricted funding and we haven't decreased funding. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we've increased funding. But to answer the question in a little broader way, Mr. Speaker, I am committed to working with my colleagues in government and to working with my colleagues outside of government, Mr. Speaker, and I think of the municipalities and the community agencies that are willing to be partnerships in addressing this need within society today. We're going to continue to work in cooperation, and we're going to continue to make sure that those services are available, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the minister obviously does not know what's going on in his department, because children who do not have status with the department cannot access service through the department.
Something else you didn't know.
A recent survey of child prostitutes in the inner city of Edmonton indicated that prostitutes need safe houses, training, education, and employment opportunities, and free childcare if they are to escape their lives on the street. My second question to the minister, given the serious risk to both prostitutes and members of the communities which they frequent, will a minister take concrete action to help these young people by funding safe houses, substance abuse treatment programs, and programs to facilitate healthy employment options?
Right on.
Mr. Speaker, the member has outlined a number of suggestions that are beyond the parameters of my department. But I will say this, that I agree that we should be doing all that we can to help prostitutes off the streets and into a healthier environment. I think we all know that prostitution is a dead-end road. And Mr. Speaker, I can say that we make many services available to young women that find themselves in that particular situation. A number of the suggestions that the member made are, in fact, available to those young women today. Mr. Speaker, what I'll say again is that we're committed to doing all that we can. I'm committed to offering a very broad range of services within our child welfare, and it is very substantive, Mr. Speaker. I might note that other provinces are looking to the innovative things that we're doing here in Alberta to be able to respond to some of the needs there as well. Mr. Speaker, we're very committed to helping those young women in that situation. We're going to continue to offer supports and services of government, and we're going to continue to work in partnership, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the one hand, this government implies it supports free enterprise, but then at the same time it threatens to wipe out business owners of amusement video machines. To the minister responsible for lotteries, why was the minister not prepared to enter into an agreement to allow these business owners to install and operate the government video terminals for a small percentage of the take and allow them to stay into business instead of being wiped out?
Mr. Speaker, under the Criminal Code of Canada, private ownership of devices such as video lottery terminals is not legal.
Mr. Speaker, my question was very, very clear. I did not talk in terms of ownership. I talked in terms of installation and operation. Is the minister prepared to pursue this matter with the association representing the amusement video owners?
Mr. Speaker, for the last 18 months to 2 years, rather large-scale consultations occurred not only in Canada but throughout North America, and in fact even on the world level, with law enforcement agencies with respect to their experiences and the experience that they've had in the area of private ownership of gaming devices. And without a bit of reservation or hesitation, the information provided to me by the RCMP in Canada, by law enforcement agencies in the United States, by states and provincial jurisdictions, both in the United States and Canada, and the consultations that I've had with gaming organizations in other countries of the world,
that their conclusion was that if a jurisdiction should get involved in an activity such as that which we have in the province of Alberta with video lottery terminals, their conclusion was that the ownership, management, and the operation of those devices should rest with the state or the state authority.
Calgary Fish Creek, followed by Stony Plain.
Mr. Speaker, my question this afternoon is to the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs, and I raise it on behalf of the tenants of the Chateau Estates Mobile Home Park in my constituency. Tenants in that park, Mr. Speaker, have received yet another notice of a pad rental hike, the third in 18 months, which would put the rents well over the $400 a month mark, a crippling level for many of the tenants, especially the seniors there. Compounding the problem, Mr. Speaker, is the zero vacancy rates in other mobile home parks in the Calgary area, and the frustrating problem of an absentee landlord with whom direct communication is impossible. In view, Mr. Speaker, of the frustrating and debilitating conditions faced by the Chateau Estates tenants, would the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs agree to contact municipal authorities in Calgary to explore ways to bring onto the market additional mobile home park lots?
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the concern that the honourable member expresses for constituents in mobile homes, and I know that in Calgary there is a particular problem with regards to the amount of land now available for that purpose. I would be pleased to talk to the minister responsible for housing in the province, but most notably to the municipal authorities to see if there are some options that can be explored with regards to this circumstance.
Mr. Speaker, as reluctant as I am to put any kind of a time embargo on responses to questions in question period, given the urgent circumstances in Chateau Estates Mobile Home Park, could the minister give to me and the other members in the Assembly, and indeed to the tenants in that park, how much time he thinks it would take to involve the city and his colleague here in a resolution of this matter?
Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't want to mislead the member by suggesting that there is an immediate solution to a problem that results from the lack of land that's developed for that purpose in the Calgary area. We will, with all speed possible, carry out those discussions. However, investment in that particular type of accommodation and the zoning required to do that are both difficulties that will have to be overcome. I might say to the honourable member that it is the intention of the government to introduce mobile home legislation in this sitting of the legislature, which will at least make sure that the residents of mobile homes have adequate time, notice, and have other protections that we are now granting to tenants in fixed accommodation through the bill we passed last year. And it is our intention to proceed with that this spring. That at least should reduce the number of times his tenants can have rental increases indicated, and some other areas that would allow them at least some safety in terms of the presence of their mobile home on a site.
Stony Plain, followed by Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while treaty Indians are the jurisdiction of the federal government, the health minister is aware that as much as half the population of Peerless and Trout Lake are either non-status, Métis, or non-Aboriginal. Last Friday, officials of the Member Services branch of the federal government met with the physicians who have been providing services to these remote communities. They indicate a willingness to, on an interim basis, provide half the annual cost of $90,000 travel for doctors visiting these communities. Will the minister live up to her responsibilities by immediately committing to pay half the travel costs for physicians on an interim basis, so that while long-term solutions are being sought, people from these communities will have access to the physician services they require?
Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat that we are reviewing the contingency plans in order to provide appropriate access for Albertans living in these two communities. And I will certainly commit, as I did earlier in the question period, to ensuring that our officials continue to meet to resolve the issues.
Mr. Speaker, while the ministers talk, the people in Peerless and Trout Lake still don't have the services of physicians. I would then ask the minister if she is prepared to station a doctor there on an interim basis so that prescriptions can be written and proper services can be provided to these people until such time until the Alberta government and the federal governments resolve the issue.
Mr. Speaker, there are more ways to provide health services than simply stationing a doctor in a community, and we are certainly committed to providing the best health options to the people living in those communities, and that is the commitment that I have made and will reiterate.
The question today is to the Minister in charge of women's issues. Canada's Council of Native Women have lost their court case for representation in the Canadian Constitution Aboriginal talks. Mr. Speaker, since a large number of Alberta citizens, or Native women, exact, are now in danger of becoming second-class citizens by losing their individual rights to the collective Aboriginal rights, will the minister make formal representation to the Government of Canada in this regard?
Falls to my responsibility. That is a matter which clearly is rests between the federal government and the Native women in view of the responsibilities that the federal government has under Section 9124 of the Constitution Act of Canada. It seems also worthy to note that in organizations which are recognized by the federal government and the provinces relative to representing the interests of all Native organizations, that this is a matter which is obviously has to be dealt with internally in those Native organizations, purporting to represent the interests of the Native communities.
Mr. Speaker, I'm most unhappy with that response because the Charter of Rights means every individual's rights in Canada, no matter where they are, it belongs everybody's responsibility. And it's just not sufficient for the Deputy Premier to get back and wash his hands of this whole affair. We have tens of thousands of people in Alberta that are classified as Aboriginal women without becoming or danger of being second-class citizens. All I'm asking is, will you, on behalf of this government, will the minister, on behalf of this government, make representation to the federal government that these Charter of Rights are paramount when they're dealing with Native women as individuals?
I think the question it goes without saying that the Charter of Rights applies universally in Canada to people of all origins. That has been the position of our government throughout the whole of the discussions that are now underway relative to the Constitution of Canada. However, during the course of the next several days, since there will be a meeting in Halifax of ministers responsible for constitutional affairs with the federal government, the matter may very well be discussed. And I will undertake to discuss the matter with the federal representatives there. Mr. Clark, the Right Honorable Mr. Clark, will be chairing that meeting. But nonetheless, it has been, I restate again, that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms applies universally to citizens in Canada, no matter what their origin may have been. And I'm sorry that I can't make the Honourable Member for Westlock Sturgeon happy on this occasion.
Athabasca Lac La Biche, followed by Edmonton Mill Woods.
I don't have a question today, Mr. Speaker.
Great. Edmonton Mill Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are for the Minister of Education today. This past Saturday, the Alberta Teachers Association at their annual Representative Assembly passed a motion urging the government to conduct a study of the air quality of schools and that funding be provided to rectify any situations that are unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, given that this concern comes after much controversy surrounding the removal of asbestos from schools as well as exposure to other hazardous substances, will the Minister of Education respond to this plea from Alberta's educators so that they and their students can be assured of a safe place in which to work and to learn?
Right on.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is the first I've heard of it, but if the honourable member has a specific concern relating to the health and safety of children in one or more of our schools, I would invite him to provide me with that information.
Mr. surprised he wasn't at the ARA as Minister of Education. He should be knowing what's happening there. But let me ask a supplementary question then to the Minister. Surely he's aware of the health and safety dangers posed by asbestos and other hazardous substances. And I simply ask the Minister if he will give his support to the teacher's request for an air quality study and ensure that there will also be financial support available so that we can rectify unacceptable situations. Is he concerned about the students' and teachers' health or not?
Mr. Speaker, I am well aware of the health and safety concerns associated with asbestos, and especially the removal of it. And I am concerned about it if a problem exists. And so I say to the honourable member, is he so concerned about standing up and making political points, or is he more interested in the health and safety of our children, such that he would bring a specific concern to my attention?
Well, he won't do that.
Member for Calgary-McKnight, followed by Calgary-Mountain View, if there's time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, cooperative education offers the advanced education system innovation, better use of facilities, and a student prepared for the workplace. My question is to the Minister of Advanced Education. The University of Calgary's #1 priority request, more cooperative education programs, has been sitting on the Minister's desk for 2 years, since January 1990. When will the Minister approve the University of Calgary's #1 priority?
Mr. Speaker, I recognize as well as others that access to our post-secondary system is one of the top priorities both for government and our post-secondary system. It's true it's the #1 priority in terms of access at the University of Calgary. It's also this minister's #1 priority to ease the whole problem of access.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to address my second question to the Minister of Career Development and Employment. Since the Educational Progress Club of Calgary and the Calgary Chamber of Commerce have endorsed cooperative programs, will this minister intervene to ensure that this excellent career preparation program is approved and supported?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I believe the former minister addressed the issue. I'm not aware of the particular concern, and if the honourable member would like to bring it to my attention or makes representation in that regard, I'd be prepared to look at it and assess it.
Speaker, since late last year, staff at Consumer and Corporate Affairs have conducted an internal review of the operations of LegalWorks, a collection agency that closed its doors in Calgary last fall. The minister recently appointed the Director of Financial Examinations as trustee for the files of former LegalWorks clients. And I presume from that action that the internal review is now completed and that the minister is trying to close the book on this unhappy situation. To the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs, Mr. Speaker, will the minister release the internal report, its findings and recommendations, so that the public can have the opportunity to review it?
Right on.
Mr. Speaker, with respect to the honourable member's assumption in this regard, I have to tell him that until the circumstance has been fully explored, and that means through the trustee having a period of time to go through files to assess the circumstances, that all facts won't be known. In any case, it's not a matter of a formal report that will be there, but rather an investigation of the circumstances that took place. I'd be happy to discuss those with them at any time.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned about past inactions, but I'm also concerned that Consumer and Corporate Affairs might be running the risk of compounding the injustice. They now have control of 3,000 files of the former clients. If those clients can't get at those files, they can't pursue their claims. The statutes of limitations may run out and their position may be jeopardized a second time. First, as a client of LegalWorks, and secondly, by not being able to get those files from Consumer and Corporate Affairs. I'd like to ask the Minister, Mr. Speaker, how his department is going to quickly get those 3,000 files back to the clients so that they can pursue their claims and not have insult added to injury.
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member may know, when a trustee is appointed, he has certain obligations under the court's order that appoints that trustee, and that requires that he follow through on procedures in accordance with legal requirements. Having said that, the instruction has always been to give as much information as possible under the law to those who might have action or might be able to take action as a result of having access to their file. We did earlier in the process duplicate the files that were then in our hands and tried to make sure that those who required them had those. If there are particular instances that the honourable member is concerned with, I'm sure that the trustee appointed would appreciate receiving them, as would I.
The Honourable Minister of Health wishes to supplement information with respect to a question raised last Friday as raised by the member for Stony Plain. Minister of Health, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member for Stony Plain on Friday, April 3rd, raised a question with respect to the operation of the school on the Enoch Reserve and the Stony Plain Health Unit. And the member alleged that the Health and Welfare Canada were prepared to pay the cost for immunization of those students. In fact, when my officials in the Department of Health checked with both the medical officer of health and the director of nursing at the health unit, those two individuals were surprised to learn about the willingness of Health and Welfare to fund the inoculation services. The health unit has been discussing the matter with Health and Welfare Canada for some time, and at no time has the federal government indicated that they would pay for the service. So if the honourable member has information that he would like to share with me and the legislature, I would be pleased to receive it.
Mr. Speaker, at this time, the information that I was going on, I still stand by, and when I verify that, I'll be pleased to discuss it with the minister or bring it to the House, whichever.
Florence, not really required. Orders of the day.
Government motions. Motion number 8, Honourable Mr. Gogo.